can't see it on that.
This is regular board meeting of the Centerville School District School Board. We will call the meeting to order with a roll call, please.
Johnson. Here. Moore.
Here.
Mike Thomas.
Here.
Bob Thomas.
Here.
Shondell, absent. Berger.
Here.
Liskus.
Here. I think the only visitors we have in here are Rochelle. Thank you very much for being here. I don't see, and Tim Castor, I guess I see him up there as well.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So any visitors want to make any comments before we move into the regular meeting? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion, a second to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, there's no old business. We'll go into new business. The purpose of us being here tonight are to discuss the high school addition plans and specifications, specifically the elevation of the entrance. And as I'm going to try and describe this as best I can, we're talking about the elevation coming in from where if you were to stand in front of Simon Estes and take and go outside of the building down towards the parking lot between the tech wing and the wrestling room. That's the elevation we're talking about right there.
Yeah.
Does that describe it?
Wrestling room elevation
Yeah.
versus Simon Estes
Yeah,
elevation.
but it's that entrance that's between the wrestling room and the science wing, or the tech wing.
Technically, yeah.
Right, so that's the entrance that we're talking about, the elevation. As I understand it, and Rochelle can chime in if she wants to, that there has been, or Matt can chime in, either one, there have been a series of community focus group meetings composed of teachers, staff, students, and community members.
There you go, yep.
Well, teachers and staff are the same thing.
Well, teachers, community members, students, parents.
Parents, that's what I was leaving on, thank you. So those four groups have gotten together, and what they say is that basically we should walk in at a higher grade level than what the parking lot is. So it would be on par with the same grade as,
Street level.
which street are you talking about?
By the teacher parking lot,
Right.
that street there.
So what I would say, on par with the Simon Estes Auditorium level, right? And so it'd all be at that same level going into that. And then once inside, there's a common areas inside, and then in order to get down to the level of that south parking lot, that lower parking lot, there would be some transition space in there in the common area that's also for the lunchroom, and all the lunch tables would be in there. So there would be a combination of stairs and ramps going down to get down to the elevation of the south parking lot. So is everybody with me with the current plan? Okay. Matt, do you want to add anything to the description, make sure we're all in the same description here?
No, that's pretty much it. I just know from the last rendering that was shown, I mean, on the east side would be the higher elevation where the gymnasium, weight room, locker rooms would be. And then the west side, there would be a stairwell that you would walk up and down. And then there's another section that I think Rochelle is called learning stairs maybe. They're a little bit bigger where people can sit, do whatever. And that kind of sections off the lower area. And then there is a ramp as well.
Okay.
So that's how I understand it.
Okay. So if, Rochelle, if you want to bring anything into it, and then I'll kind of, after that, I'll kind of introduce a couple comments on Mike Thomas with some concerns that he has. So Rochelle, if you want to take it over and talk through us a little bit.
Yeah, so I kind of just thought, since we were talking about the plan, it would be easier if I kind of just shared it with you guys while Matt was kind of talking about it. So outlined in red, as you see on the screen, was that elevated portion that's at the same height as the Simon Estes, the auditorium and the street level there. So it'd be about 4.5 feet difference in height between that addition there and that level, and then the lower level, which would match the level of the tech wing addition there off to the left, or if you want to say west part of that building. So all the classrooms are the same level as the other classrooms in the tech wing, but it's really that admin, the front entry, the upper commons area, and the gym and athletic area that are all raised up to that street level area. The reason, just want to give a little background here, and I know I presented some things off of the visioning committee a while ago of some of their comments and what they were envisioning that the school would look like. And just wanted to touch back a little bit on that, just so we're all on the same page with that. But some of their comments were, we really like a shorter front entry. We want to have everything, we like the idea of having everything elevated at street level. The entry coming down was a concern for them, not a prominent entry. They were concerned that they would be competing against the entry for the auditorium if it was lower than the street level. So that was just some of the comments that were made there. And that was kind of what influenced this new plan approach where it elevated that portion of the building. And in doing so it does require you to have some interior level changes like the stairs and the ramps. Do you want me to share the renderings of those interior areas?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So this is the exterior. As you approach the building from that street level, the admin here is off to the right. Obviously the front entry, and that would be bright red, branding for CHS. It's not as dimly rendered as you see there, but it would be a bright red volume that would kind of signify that front entry there. And then off to the left of that is that commons area. And then even further off to the left, this large volume is the gym. So you can kind of see how that front entry would look like at street level. This is also another view coming from the other side of the street. And you can see there's an opportunity there to add some signage so that you can visually see it from the public way. So that's the exterior, just to give you a little bit of a idea of what that would look like. The gray piece here is a metal panel, and then we would do a metal panel as well at the red. So kind of giving you some material ideas. And then that's obviously brick, and we would choose a brick to match your existing building.
Okay, thank you.
So the interior, this is a view from the interior. And this is standing basically right outside of the kitchen area on the lower commons area. So you can see the big red volume that was seen on the outside is seen on the inside. So still signifying that front entry. You have this area here, which acts as the history wall. And then you can kind of see how we would handle that elevation change. And it actually provides an interesting opportunity for students to sit or gather on, or even, you could do a small lecture there. You could do a breakout space there in those areas. It does, again, the commons would be split. So you would have a little bit difference in your heights for the commons there. And this is just standing from the upper commons, looking at the front entry and also the administration area. And you can kind of see how you would come in and you would go right into your admin area, and that's all open glazing glass to the commons area. So you have lots of eyes on the commons area as well. So yeah, so that's kind of where we were moving towards. And I think we presented this plan to you guys a few weeks, over a month ago, I believe, too. So.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So does anybody have any questions on the rendering or the plan that the vision group came up with? And then we'll move on to Mike Thomas's concerns. None? Okay. So Mike Thomas has contacted me, and he has some concerns with the stairs on the inside, and we'll let him talk. Once that's done, we're going to open up for discussion, and we're going to leave here tonight with a decision and guidance that Rochelle and her team can go forward to, so that we can get the bid packet done. And once, whatever this board decides on tonight as far as the elevation, that's going to be the decision the board's going to go forward, but we're going to decide that tonight. Okay? Mike, go ahead.
Well, Miss Rochelle sent me, so I'm on vacation, and so I didn't have all that information in front of me. She sent me the artist renderings again, and I got a chance to study those and I liked what I saw. Okay. It does look very nice. The only issue I have is that I have presented these, not the renderings, because I didn't have those until today, but I showed the floor plan and how the steps and ramps were involved to over 60 community members. And every one of those people said they didn't want any steps and ramps in their high school. The steps and ramps up to the auditorium and the tech wing, there's nothing we can do about it. But the rest of it, they said, no steps, no ramps. One lady summed it up. She said, so when I walk in the front doors of that high school, I can walk pretty much everywhere like I do at Lakeview or Howard. And I said, well, if they decide to go with the plan that lowers it, that's what it would be. And she said, that's what I want. And so I know the focus group, I don't know how many people were in this this group. Rochelle estimated when I talked to her today that there were at least 12 to 15 people there. I wasn't invited, so I don't know. And I do know that Rochelle did present the idea of lowering it, but the focus group thought the steps were okay. I don't want to disrespect the focus group and their ideas, but when I find an overwhelming, not one person who wanted the steps, I feel like I have to at least represent I guess I call them my constituents, the people that that elected me. And if I didn't at least voice their concerns, I would be remiss in my duty there.
I think you froze. Either you froze or you ended.
Pardon me?
You either froze up or you ended. It kind of sounded like you got cut off there.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, at the risk of repeating myself here, I showed these plans to over 60 people, and not one of them wanted steps and ramp. They wanted our high school to be all on one level as much as possible. I felt like I have to represent those people. I couldn't find anyone who liked the steps.
Okay. Okay. Anything else you want to add?
If we don't get this pretty close to right, I think we're going to be in the same situation as the former school board and the I guess you'd call it the wrestling room fiasco. So
Okay.
I want to think we get it right.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Mike for clarification? Bob, you got any?
Not right now.
Well, we're going to decide tonight, so
I know.
be thinking. Mike, do you have any questions for Mr. Thomas?
No, I guess I would just make the comment that if you lowered it, you're gonna have either ramps or steps outside.
Yeah,
I'd
that's.
much rather have them inside where you don't have to deal with the elements.
Okay, now Rochelle says you have to have steps one place or the other. Mike says you can do it without any steps anywhere.
That's right. You can do it if I shot the grade out there, took my transit out and I shot the grade. And in front of the auditorium, there's a little kind of a half circle there where people pull up to drop people off. If you shoot the grade from there, the north side of that circle to the tech wing door, it's only 30 inches. I spoke to a gentleman called Howard Davis, who maybe you know, has done dirt work everywhere. And his whole life. And he said, you could scoop that out, slope that down, and you would hardly even tell that there was a slope there. He said there would be no steps on the outside. It would all be a gentle walk down the sidewalk into the front entrance.
Okay.
But Mike, it's not going from the curb drive to the tech wing door because it's gonna be a lot closer. I mean, look at, like, all of the offices are going there in front, and all of the commons area will be closer north, so you don't have as much span, to have, whatever I'm trying to say, I think you guys understand. You don't have the same span, so you can't gradually do that.
I beg to differ, okay? You can drop it all down there, okay, and have your front entrance there. It will look just fine, okay? And you will eliminate all of those steps.
Well, there's still gonna be steps somewhere because you're gonna have steps inside then to get into the gymnasium. There will be steps, because the gymnasium is gonna be at the same level as Simon Estes entrance.
Doesn't have to be. Drop the gymnasium down also. Drop everything down.
I want to hear Rochelle's response to his suggestion.
So if we dropped everything down, we would have to rearrange this plan a little bit, that especially at the front entry, to make it work. Because right now, if we use the same exact plan, we would have retaining walls because of how close we are to the street there. The street is coming right here. So we would have to probably move this front entry over a little bit and then try to kind of reconfigure this area maybe out front here. But at some point, I think you would have steps just for ease of convenience for someone coming over from this particular street, let's say, walking over here. They're probably going to want to have steps that go right down into the entry. They're not going to want to have to walk all the way around and then come up over by that area. That's a gentle slope and come down. So we would probably have steps somewhere. You could do that gentle slope potentially if we rearrange things a little bit. But we would probably have steps somewhere. We would also be required to have steps either outside of the gym or within the gym. I'd have to kind of think a little bit about how we're exiting out of the gym for egress reasons. So we'd have to think a little bit more about that. And we would have to think a little bit about the weight room as well, area there, because we have a egress out of there. So again, we'd have to kind of rearrange those areas to make that work a little bit differently, so we're not creating so many steps either outside or inside your building.
If you drop the gymnasium down to the same level as the wrestling room, there are no steps. Now, there might be some steps for egress. I'm not sure about that, but you would be able to access all of those areas without any steps if you came in the front door that was dropped down.
Yes, Mike, you are correct. That would be correct. Yes. And you're in that plan. That is right. But we would need egress outside of there. We need at least 3 egresses outside of the gym. So that we can't have that all exiting out of the building and out of the main entry just due to code requirements. So we'd have to have at least one of those probably exiting to the exterior of the building. So that would require us to have steps somewhere there for that.
But those would be just steps for egress in an emergency. They would not be steps that we would probably use on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Mike, I guess real quick, out of these 60 people that you talked to, how many of them plan to be in the educational area of the high school daily?
They would like to have access to all of the school. Remember, it's called Centerville Community Schools. They would like to think, I'm not only a licensed contractor in the state of Iowa, I'm also a certified universal design. Universal design means basically handicapped accessible. And if I was a handicapped person of any kind, whether I'm a student, a visitor, a parent, and I walked in that front door and I saw all those steps and ramps, it's just like the Grand Canyon, okay? I'm not going to be able to get across there without a lot of effort. That's why this country passed all those laws that new buildings have to be built so handicapped people can access them. And even though I like the looks of Rochelle's renderings, I see that as, you know, and I guess 60 other people saw that as a disaster for anybody with any sort of mobility issues.
So I guess, I mean, in order to build this, it has to be ADA compliant anyway.
Correct. The architectural firm isn't
So-
gonna present this if it isn't ADA acceptable.
I mean, so even, you know, the ramp has to be ADA compliant, just like we did at the football field. I mean, all
That's
that,
right.
it all has to be there anyway, so it's gonna fall into ADA compliance. And I guess, like I said, I don't see at any of our school district or any of our buildings, normal citizens, everyday citizens coming into the educational area of any buildings for, you know, unless it's for conferences or, you know, certain things, they may be in the athletic facility areas, which again would be, if you're going in on this plan, would be one level in front of the street. So,
It's, you know, I think we need to design this for everybody, okay? We need to design it for everybody, irregardless of their ability. And sure, a ramp will take care of that. But do you know that the ramp, for every 1 inch of height, the ramp has to be 1 foot long? So a 4.5 foot ramp or a elevation change would necessarily have to have a ramp that's 54 feet long.
I guess my only,
In the plan,
go ahead, Michelle.
I was just gonna say, I just want to point out where the ramp was, just so everyone kind of knew it. It kind of creates this, the commons area, defines the commons area a little bit, and it would be here. Just so everyone knows that it is in the plan. It is ADA compliant. Again, so we wouldn't have presented it if it was not. And I know Mike knows that, so.
Sure. And just because it's ADA compliant, in other words, follows the law, if you've ever been in a wheelchair and had to push yourself up a ramp, it's not any fun. Okay. And
What about outside
to-
in the winter, Mike? Just out of
In the-
curiosity, you know, that's a long,
Okay.
gentle slope. That's
We're
going to
not-
be quite a long push.
That's right. But we are only talking about 30 inches of difference instead of 54 inches. And if you went back farther north, it would be much less than 30 inches. Okay. We're talking 30 inches or less versus 54 inches. A huge difference.
I guess the only thing I was gonna chime in and say is that if I went out and asked 60 people, I'm sure they're gonna all agree with me. Because just the way we ask and present information, and just who we hang out with, I just feel like that would influence what people say because of our opinions, so.
That's true, but I presented both plans as as ethically as I could without prejudice. Okay. And we're going to make a decision tonight. So you will not have the opportunity to go out and ask 50 people. Okay. If I had,
And I
you know,
wouldn't do that because I'm gonna listen to what the group said, the focus group.
that, and how many people were in that group?
We all picked people, I thought, we're supposed to pick however many and put them into that group.
At our last meeting, would be at 30, Matt.
Between the visioning group and user group, we had close to 30. I can pull up the exact number.
That's close enough.
Okay.
Yeah, were there 30 at the last meeting?
Correct.
Okay, when was the focus group set up? Because I'm not recalling it.
It's been a long-
Yeah,
it's been a
give me little
long
background.
time.
Yeah, the visioning, back in June, after the bond proposal went through, the next planning phase, this is how I remember it. We were asked to come up with a visioning group of, I thought it was 3 people
Right.
per group, teachers, community members, parents, and students. And that visioning group had like a two or 3 hour meetings with Rochelle in the month of June. And the first meeting, she presented kind of on design concepts in education, as well as talking about the current plan that was had. And then that group critiqued it. That was session number 1. Session number 2, which I did not attend the second session. I was at a sporting event for my son, but I believe that's when the elevation of the entrance was, they made a decision to say they thought it would be better if it was up high, because then you could go in at street level. I'm probably missing some things, but that was the
You know how many
process.
times they met?
The visioning group, I believe, met, the third time they met was a few weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago. So they met 3 times. And then the user group meetings consisted of strictly school personnel, teachers, support staff, building maintenance, grounds. And they looked at, they also critiqued this plan compared to when they first saw it during the bond proposal. But then really the user groups focused, even though we did look at and comment on the overall design, they were slightly more focused on lower level details in terms of offices, who will be where, configuring office and locker room spaces and things like that.
And when we got the first drawing, we had already had groups prior to the bond passing, giving input.
Yeah, my first answer is we chose those people 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay,
It's been a long
I
time.
thought it was just a long pandemic or something.
So,
Before you were elected, all those people were
okay,
selected.
so I guess I'll make a comment here, Kate, as we go around discussing that. Kind of coming in the middle or towards the end of this, how practical is it to change that, number one? And number two, I think we do need to get it right. I suppose now's when we need to make a decision. But I don't know that much about dealing with grades and whatnot. But I would like to kind of know what everybody thinks about, I mean, what do you think about coming in and having stairs and the ramp right there? I mean, how does that look?
Looks okay to me. I think.
Yeah, I think.
I would
that's
say
good.
from a school administrator's perspective, the way I envision that design looking is, all the students coming in that north door, and they're going to be primarily in the upper commons area prior to when the bell rings for the start of school. And then they're going to, when the bell rings at 7:55, they're going to go to their classrooms, and they'll use stairs, ramp, they'll make their way there. And I also look at it, again, that space for us using the building for school, having that common split, it gives us a spot where I'm thinking, okay, that lower level is probably where we're going to have a study hall, so we don't have to use the media center for study hall, and it doesn't get that wear and tear, and or a space where a larger space for a class. If they want to be out there, they can use those learning stairs, a good place for a presentation. I'm assuming in the plan that the projector and sound system and everything will be on the upper level. So if there was a, when we're looking at doing presentations or having a community meeting, that would probably be on the upper level. So going down to the lower level, you would probably have to do that to get to the bathroom, would be my guess. But most of if you're not in the classrooms, you would spend most of your time on the upper level because that's where the gym is and where the projector would be. That's just kind of how I've looked at
Well,
it.
are there public restrooms by the gym?
I don't remember seeing them. I think
Michelle?
there's restrooms.
I
in
thought
the-
it looked like it, but I couldn't tell if they were just
I don't know.
lockers.
I thought they were lockers.
Rochelle can answer that.
Rochelle, can you show?
Yeah,
the-
so there's locker rooms. Yep, there are locker rooms. I can get that plan back up for you guys.
But are there restrooms?
Cause it's not a competition gym.
I will show you.
No, it's not a competition gym.
So really, when the public's in there, it's really only gonna be for conferences.
So we have two set of restrooms. We do have locker rooms with restrooms, but I did move the locker space, bathrooms over here. So it was more accessible to the gym area. So if you were at the gym, you could either use the locker room areas for a bathroom, or let's say you have a lot of people and some people don't mind, you can use the restroom here. So you would have to walk down the stairs or the ramp and use those.
And I
I
guess
will admit,
is, a couple different things, is when since I've been on the board and this was going on, it's been going on a lot longer than that, the main thing that sticks out to me is the future ready. And part of that is what we've already done at the middle school this past summer with having those different, what they call learning areas that are non-conventional. And it's just part of, correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm saying the wrong thing, having those non-conforming places to go and have a class or a breakout session or something like that. So that has stuck in my mind throughout this whole process. And then I guess the other part of it is when we talk about making it right, we're never going to please everybody, right? That's, I think we do the best we can with the best design with the money we have. And, I can find 60 people that are going to love it as opposed to 60 people that are going to hate it. So I think it comes down to, who are we? We just can't make everybody happy. Not everybody's happy with Lakeview. Not everybody's happy with the middle school. We got to make a decision to go with it.
So if we change tonight, will that change our timeline?
And cost.
And they're gonna add a lot of cost, architectural fees. But I've learned some stuff tonight, because she never talked about the need for retaining walls and that kind of stuff. That made a difference in my
Yeah,
point of view, I think, too.
yeah,
I think
if
we're
we
ready-
sink it, we'd have to have
I
retaining
think
wall.
we're ready to vote.
I think so. Is there any other discussion? Anybody else? We'll go around once. Brooke, you got anything? Tim?
I think so.
Okay. Bob? Mike Thomas, we'll give you the last word.
well, it's, I will admit that I asked for the main entrance to be at street level. And I understand the focus groups met quite a few times. But to be honest with you, this elevation change was not presented until the last meeting. About, 3 or 4 weeks ago. And that's the part that, I was on board with everything, but when I finally saw what I asked for and what it turned into, that's when I had to reevaluate that idea of keeping it at street level. So I would only ask that you were, do the same thing. Ask yourself, is this the best interest for the people that are going to enter this building And, I know Rochelle talks about retaining walls. I really don't think we're gonna need that. I shot the grade. I walked all over that place for about a half a day. I think it can be done, but we'll have to wait and see.
Okay. All right, we can approach this a couple ways. We can do a consensus, we can go around the room, say the preference, or we can do a roll call vote. Any preferences? Because
Roll call.
you want to do a roll call vote? Okay.
Do we need a motion of any
Yep.
sort? I'd make a motion to continue with the high school plans as presented.
Second.
Okay. So a yes means we're gonna go with the plan is. A no means that we're gonna go back and take Mike Thomas's comments to heart and direct Rochelle to kind of redesign everything. So does everybody understand what we're voting on and how to vote? Okay. So I have a motion, a second, to retain or continue with the design plan as presented, with the elevation being at, I'm going to call it grade level with the Simon Estes entrance. Am I fair? Okay. Have a roll call vote, please.
Johnson,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Mike Thomas,
No.
Bob Thomas,
Yes.
Shondell, not here, Berger,
I'm gonna vote no.
Liskus,
Yes. Those 4-2. All right, it's 4-2. And I think that's, this has actually, in my opinion, been a very good discussion of some things. I think it's healthy when the board has discussions like that. And I think Mike bringing the concerns up is valid, and I really appreciate everybody coming on a Thursday and going into the future. This is a really healthy way to discuss the board issues, so I think this is, I know Mike really didn't get his way tonight, but I think from a board standpoint, we've grown tonight in some, how we discussed and talked through some issues, so I just want to say thanks to everybody for that. Okay.
I just want to say that I got on the board when we were doing the wrestling room, and I was exactly where you were. I did, in fact, at one point, I thought, I'm not gonna vote on any of this, I don't know what, and then I thought, well, they don't know any more than I do, so I just started voting. But there were debates about roofs and all kinds of, whether there could be restrooms or not, and it was just got awful, because Matt was saying, do something, and I didn't have enough information at all.
Okay. So with that, I thank everybody for your time and entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
aye.
Everybody else can stay in place. Thank you.